imagine being able to step right back into maybe the very first D&D adventure many of us ever played, right? The Keep on the Borderlands.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
But, like, experience it with all the clever design and, the smooth gameplay we kind of expect from tabletop RPGs today.
Uh-huh.
What would that even look like?
Funny you should say that. Just maybe 2 weeks back, our group was exploring this old ruin, and it felt incredibly familiar, like almost straight out of one of those classic modules,
Wow, really?
Yeah. We definitely had that nostalgia hit for sure. But, well, there were moments where some of the older design stuff felt a bit clunky compared to now.
Clunky how?
Like maybe a combat that was just way too easy, or one that just dragged on forever, or a plot hook that felt a little thin, maybe, for how we tend to approach narrative these days.
I've had that.
It definitely got us talking, though, about, wanting to recapture that old magic, but maybe without some of the rough edges.
Well, that is exactly the territory we're jumping into today.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive into the D&D Starter Set 2025, Heroes of the Borderlands, and we're leaning heavily on the really detailed coverage from LitRPG Reads.
Great. So the mission here is really to understand how this new set reimagines that legendary module, the Keep on the Borderlands, which came out when 1979.
Way back then.
So reimagining it for brand new players and for us old hands who've been rolling dice for years, and it's all built on the 2024 rule set. Right?
Exactly. Which is a huge factor in how it updates things.
Makes sense.
And from what I've seen in the LitRPG Reads analysis, there are really two main aims here. First, it's clearly meant as a welcoming doorway for people totally new to Dungeons & Dragons.
The classic starter set goal.
But just as important, it seems designed to hit those nostalgia buttons and offer updated play for those of us who, fondly remember the original Borderlands.
And what's interesting, based on the article, is that Heroes of the Borderlands isn't just like a reprint with new art. No, it sounds like a genuine reimagining. They've apparently taken the core setting, the narrative bones, and really updated them. Yeah. Modern storytelling sensibilities,
Okay.
But while still keeping those classic challenges and familiar bits that veterans will hopefully recognize.
It does sound like making the game more accessible was a big focus.
Yeah.
LitRPG Reads really emphasizes how the set tries to be inclusive, removing some of those barriers that might have made D&D feel, complicated or intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially in the past.
Yeah, that tracks.
They specifically mention more intuitive rules, user-friendly design. So if you found older editions a bit heavy on the rules...
Which some definitely were.
Right. This probably means maybe a cleaner character sheet, clearer ways to figure out what happens when you try something, fewer charts to look up mid-game.
Hopefully. And another interesting point the article brought up was this emphasis on cooperative play, like through the whole set.
Cooperative? How so?
Well, it sounds like it's baked into everything, from how you make characters, maybe even the approach to being the dungeon master.
Interesting.
The whole idea seems to be about empowering everyone at the table, no matter how much experience they have.
Okay, let's talk about what you actually get. What's in the box? LitRPG Reads calls it a treasure trove, which sounds promising.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, multiple full-color adventure booklets, and they're designed to be modular.
Modular, like chapters?
Kinda. Supporting this learn-as-you-play idea, you can play them in different orders, maybe even as standalone one-shots. Makes it easier to just pick up and play, especially if you don't have, hours and hours.
Okay, that sounds genuinely useful, especially for new DMs maybe, and players too.
For sure.
And the physical maps. The article mentioned those too.
Yeah, detailed physical maps. And the article stresses they're not just functional grids, they're meant to actually boost the visual storytelling.
Ah, nice. Having that physical thing on the table can really help with immersion, can't it?
Totally. Plus, always good to get multiple sets of dice included. You can never have too many dice.
True. And they mentioned a rule primer, streamlined for the 2024 edition.
Yep. Makes sense for a starter set. And these printed cards for things like spells, items, character abilities, that sounds fantastic.
Oh, like reference cards.
Exactly. Keep things organized, visually handy, so you're not constantly flipping through rulebooks mid-session.
Okay, that's a smart move. What else sounded innovative?
Well, according to the article, this character creation tiles system.
Tiles? What's that about?
Imagine having, physical pieces you lay out.
Yeah.
Representing choices like your species, your background, your class.
Right.
Each with different options you can combine. So you might grab an elf tile, a noble background tile, maybe a fighter class tile, then other tiles for gear or skills.
It's a visual, hands-on thing.
Yeah, exactly. presented as a way less daunting method for new players, but apparently still offers real, meaningful choices.
Interesting concept. Could work really well.
Now, here's something that really grabbed my attention. This idea of cooperative DMing.
Cooperative DMing? What, like multiple DMs for one game?
Apparently, LitRPG Reads highlights it as potentially groundbreaking. Multiple DMs collaborating on running a single campaign.
Wow.
Sharing the load, bringing different perspectives to the story.
That is fascinating. I mean, it could be great for easing new DMs in, right? Share the responsibility.
Definitely.
But I also wonder about, like, coordinating everything, keeping the story consistent.
Good point.
Okay.
Maybe the adventure booklets give specific ways to handle that, frameworks.
Could be. If they pull it off well, that could be a genuine innovation.
And then, of course, there's the heart of it all, the reimagining of the Keep on the Borderlands itself.
Right, the main event.
The article stresses that Wizards of the Coast is being careful here. They want to honor the original, but also update it for what players expect today.
Which probably means?
More nuanced NPCs, maybe? Locations tweaked?
Yeah.
A narrative tone that feels more contemporary?
Makes sense. I remember when I first played The Keep. It felt so open, so full of possibility.
Yeah.
Even if some of the encounters were a bit, rough by modern standards.
Totally.
It's exciting to think how this new version might capture that same wonder, but just smoother, a better experience overall.
So if we look at the bigger picture, it's clearly not just about, digging up the past for nostalgia.
No, it sounds more strategic than that.
Right. It's about taking this much-loved foundation and building on it, making it relevant, exciting for today's players.
The article suggests even longtime fans will find familiar stuff woven together with totally new experiences, which sounds pretty cool.
And finally, LitRPG Reads also mentioned accessibility going beyond just gameplay rules.
Ooh, like what?
Digital integration through D&D Beyond, support for virtual tabletops.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Which is basically essential these days, right?
Very much. Offers flexibility, caters to how different people actually play now, online, in person, hybrid.
So yeah, bringing it all together. Heroes of the Borderlands sounds like more than just another starter set. It feels like it could be a really significant product for D&D's future.
The article definitely frames it that way, as a fantastic way for new folks to jump in, and a source of both familiar and fresh adventure for veterans.
All while embracing modern game design. It sounds pretty promising.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the key innovations highlighted by LitRPG Reads. We've got those modular, learn-as-you-play adventure booklets.
Which sounds super user-friendly, and the detailed physical maps for better immersion.
Right. The streamlined 2024 rule primer, crucial for beginners, and that character creation tile system.
Yeah, a really novel approach to building characters visually.
And we shouldn't forget the cooperative DMing idea, which is, well, intriguing at least.
Definitely something to watch. And the big effort to both respect and properly update a classic like The Keep on the Borderlands.
Ultimately, it all seems to point towards making D&D more accessible, more inclusive, which, as LitRPG Reads notes, is a major plus.
And the digital integration just makes sense, helps reach everyone.
So the overall vibe from the article is definitely positive, positioning this set as maybe a new cornerstone for the D&D universe.
It certainly sounds like it has that potential. And hey, a big thank you is due to the folks at LitRPG Reads for their really thorough analysis.
Absolutely. And a special shout out to Paul Bello, fine fellow indeed.
So thinking about this revival of a classic, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Wonder what?
What other beloved old-school tabletop RPG modules or settings do you think would really benefit most from a similar modern reimagining?
Ooh, that's a great question. There are so many possibilities.
We genuinely love to hear what you think. Let us know your ideas, your opinions down in the comments below.